You want to talk about a career changing habit? Read. Reading. Truly believe it's given me an edge in work, but also outside of work or in every aspect of life. We're social creatures. It's part of our nature. Communication is at the center of developing relationships, any kind of relationship. And you can develop communication skills, your ability to understand, to interpret, to reflect, to really hear by reading, but by reading things that actually interest you. Reading things where you read a page and you're like, oh, that's fascinating. Let me reread that just to make sure I really understood. Let me look this thing up. Great. It's amazing. Just do it. Start with 10 to 15 minutes a day and stick with that for a couple of months. You're going to get through a bunch of books that way. To kick you off, I have 3 books that are technical. Well, let's say tech related, but they're going to keep you interested. The problem with reading technical books like tutorials is that if you're not working through them, if you just sit down and be like, I want to read this JavaScript book for 10 minutes a day, you're going to get bored and you're going to hate reading and you're not going to develop that habit. So step 1 today, pause this video right now and figure out how much time can you commit to reading every day. Is it 10 minutes, 10 pages? Is it 30 minutes split into 2 15-minute sections? Is it, I don't know, whatever it is. Like for me personally, I have at least 15 minutes. You can see there, I have a little timer in my Streaks app. I love this app. It's like my operating system. But the only reason it works is because I use it every day and I've been using it for like 3+ years. Any system that you can develop for yourself is going to work. Maybe it's a calendar, a piece of paper you stick to your wall and you just put an X on it whenever it is that you accomplish that habit. And the more you start seeing those X piling up, the more you're going to not want to break that chain. So figure out what that looks like, figure out how you're going to keep track. And then I have 3 books for you. I know I'm going to get this question, so I'm going to answer it now. I personally read everything on a Kindle. I've tried iPad. It's just too distracting. Plus having to charge it every day. This thing I have to charge like once every 3 months or something like that. All my books fit on it. It's very durable. I can just toss it in my bag or wherever it is. And yeah, I've had this thing for like 6-7 years and it's great. I love physical books, but they are just kind of wasteful and it's hard to move around with them. So I've just resorted now to reading on the Kindle. You can also install an app on your phone to read, whatever it is that works for you, right? But the first book I have is Tools and Weapons. By the way, you can read these books in any order that you want. But the first one is Tools and Weapons. It is by Brad Smith, who is I think he's like vice chairman now at Microsoft and president. But he was sort of at the center and honestly forefront of, late 90s or into the 2000s, into like the mid 2010s on all the lawsuits that Microsoft had going on. Things like suing the Obama and the Trump administration, all the cybersecurity stuff that was going on in the late 2000s. Even speaks a little bit about the Snowden revelations, and it talks through the impact and ramifications a lot of the technology that a bunch of companies have created, not just Microsoft, like social media and AI and ethics, like things like that. All the ramifications and impacts that those have had and can have and potentially will have on society. As someone working in tech, sometimes it's kind of hard to take a step back and reflect on what it is that I'm actually building. What is it that I'm actually doing? How am I contributing to this world in good and bad? Because you're kind of just tied into your day to day. So I like taking my reading time to explore what that actually looks like. And I find that also reading into things like this have helped me develop my sense of passion for the stuff that I do. So anyway, that's a fantastic book. It's very entertaining in terms of like, not entertaining like a sitcom type thing, but entertaining in ways you're like, wow, I can't believe this is what was happening. And it's cool to learn from like an insider perspective how these situations were handled. So that was the first book I recommend. The second one is The Phoenix Project, and I'm pretty sure lots of you have already read this one. And it's the only fiction one in this list. But it's just, there's some parts of it that I'm like, oh, this definitely happened. And I'm pretty sure people who have read it have that same reflection. But it essentially follows the story of a company implementing DevOps practices, except it's chaos. Yeah, it really is chaos. And you actually do learn some DevOps concepts as to why they matter and how they could potentially be implemented through the story. Obviously, it's not life-changing literature, but there's not a lot of fiction stories out there for us people who work in tech or based off stories or things that happen in tech. So this is a great one. Highly recommend it. I'm pretty sure if you wanted something that's like an easy read and something that'll get you hooked, this is the first one you should do. The last one I have for today, I don't want to overwhelm you. And personally, I'm probably going to try to put out another book-related video in another 3 months after I go through a couple more books. But the last one I have today is called Recoding America. And I had this highlight that I wanted to share with everybody about this one. Let's see. Oh, so I'm just going to read some things that again, highlights that I have from this book. Also, another reason why I have Kindle, because I can have just all the highlights in one. But anyway, the oldest layer of technology at the EDD, which is a team in the government, is something called the single client database running on an IBM mainframe. There's also this one about, oh, here it is. The architecture diagram for just one benefit system at the VA was so complex that it was displayed on a wall 20 feet long and 8 feet tall. Recoding America is all about how America handles its IT systems, creating them, implementing them, updating them. And man, there is a lot of mess, but it's also helped me develop a lot of empathy for people who work on these things, and also has made me feel like, oh, maybe trying to help improve these systems is something that I'd like to do in my future. Not now, but in the future potentially. Yeah, there's a lot. The government runs on COBOL and Band-Aids. Even if you don't live in the USA, I feel like it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of insight, and it's written by someone who actually has worked on these systems. And also, she founded Code for America, which is a program that essentially gets technical professionals to go and work with the government and help them resolve issues with their tech systems. Anyway, yeah, I just thought a lot about that book. But anyway, it's very interesting. Highly recommend it. And that's my list of these 3 books to kickstart your reading habit. Let me know which one you're going to start with. And it's the last month of the year. It's a great time to start a new habit. That way, when January comes along, you already got the momentum. You're already kickstarted. So, yeah, good luck to you on starting that new habit. And I'll have more recommendations in a later video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.